All right, I want to welcome everyone who is joining us. I see some folks that are joining in on the line right now for 5 Google tools for productivity to get more sleep, earn more, and stress less. So this is going to be a very interesting webinar, to say the least, and one of the reasons why I think it's going to be interesting is because it's almost one of my favorite topics. Well, it probably is at the top of my list, and what I mean by that is the idea of sharing tools, simple tools that will help people to be more productive, help people to be streamlined in the way that you do things. That is something that is near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to share a little bit of housekeeping before we actually start getting into the full conference. Welcome. I see a few more folks that are joining us. Hi. You are more than welcome. I'm going to share in a second a couple of ways that you can actually interact with me. One of the things that I will do for this call is to mute the call so that we can have a clean recording for those who are not able to attend live. So, a couple of things in terms of housekeeping, and I'm going to go ahead and maximize our screen right now. And let's see, here we go. All right. What I think I want to go ahead and do as well is to try to turn off those chimes. So let me do that very quickly so we can have that clean recording. Hold on. All right, there we go. That way every time someone else logs in, we don't have to all experience that. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. I want to give you a couple of little techie things, and actually let me restore the screen so that you can see this stuff, these options that you'll have for today to interact. One of the things I want to share with you is that we have on the screen that you're looking at, you're going to have the actual slides. So if you are joining me solely by conference call, you won't have the experience of being able to actually see the screen with the slides that I'm going to refer to. But since you're registered for the call, you will have the opportunity to view the entire session, including a video of this webinar, through a link that you'll receive after the call. So to kind of give you some background in terms of the setup of the screen so that you know what you're looking at, I have a couple of different things. One is that there is something I like to call my Wendy Williams check-in. Okay, so it's a how you doing check-in area. If you see an area where you can actually indicate feedback and tell me if you're doing fine, if I need to slow down, speed up, if there's something that's going on that you need assistance with, just let me know with my Wendy Williams check-in. The other thing that you should be able to see somewhere on your screen, I'm not exactly sure how yours looks from your end, but you should be able to have access to a text chat area as well as a Q&A area. So you're more than welcome to send me a quick little note just to say hello. Hi there, Sylvia. I see several people showing up that I just know and love, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what else we need to do. All right, so we can get into the meat of things. I'm going to share with you basically that I want you to have certain takeaways from this course. So I'll get into that in a second, but ultimately I will hold off on hosting or entertaining questions until we get to the very end of the call. And at that point, you'll be able to ask questions using the Q&A center that's at the bottom of the screen. Okay? The replay for this call will be available within 24 hours, and right after we're done, you're going to actually receive a survey, a link to a survey. I think the page itself will pop up for you to just give some feedback so that we can just continue to get better and grow as we deliver these presentations to you. So now I'm going to go ahead and maximize the screen really quickly here and get into a couple of other things. Here's the actual objectives for the call. This is what we want to make sure that you're able to get from this session tonight. The main thing is that we want you to be able to have access to 5 Google tools that will help you to be more productive. I enjoy helping solo entrepreneurs like coaches, consultants, freelancers be able to get more sleep, earn more, and stress less, which was part of the title. But the other objective that I have here is for you to be able to experience my personal style of training, because I tend to deliver, probably over-deliver when it comes to technology, but I really enjoy breaking it down into simple terms so that you can take it and do something with it immediately. So that's my goal, or my 3 objectives for you. Just a quick little bit about my background. I'm a business coach, and as I introduced myself a little bit earlier, my name is Tanya Smith. I have almost 20 combined years of experience in corporate leadership training, marketing, and sales. So I really am very focused on results and how to get them as efficiently and effectively as possible. You will probably hear me say the word efficiently quite a bit if you're in my circle at all, because that's a big deal to me. I've worked for major corporations. I also have 2 children at home. I've managed all of that in addition to running a business, so I know how overwhelming it can be to have just a full plate. And see, that's what we tend to do, is we bog ourselves down with so many different things that are going on. We lose sleep, or we start throwing money at the problem, and we don't just take the time to do some of the simple things that would allow us to tweak our businesses, free up more time so that we can generate profit for our business. Because the thing is, you need to be focused more on those essential profit-generating activities. I say this all the time. You've got 3 decisions to make when it comes to your business, and ultimately they are to either make the decision to act, to assign the work to someone else, or to automate. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about tonight can either fall into one of those 3 categories. You'll have to decide for you whether or not the activity or the task or the information that I'm going to share with you, these nuggets, will be good for you to do, or whether or not they'll be better for you to have someone else do for you. You get to make that call. So as I mentioned already, I enjoy helping solopreneurs like myself that are coaches, consultants, and freelancers to make more money. But most importantly, you're going to get to that place of earning more by creating time savers in the way that you do your business, in your operations, okay? You want to be able to focus on what's most important to you. And sometimes what's most important is not just about generating that bottom line or bottom dollar for your business. It may also be about freeing up more time so that you can spend that time with loved ones, or you can spend that time on yourself relaxing, or, having that massage that you needed for the week, or whatever it might be. But ultimately, that's going to be the goal tonight, of making sure that you have time-saving tips. Now, I want to say this before I really go any further. There is a Google privacy issue. I know many of you have probably seen out there various emails that have been flying back and forth, because starting tomorrow, that's March 1st, there will be a new privacy policy in place that Google has put together. So my statement to you is that I'm not going to get into debating about whether or not you should or shouldn't use Google tools because of their privacy laws or the changes in the policy. I want to encourage you to check it out. And all you have to do is go to Google.com, and you'll see the new privacy policy somewhere on the page. They've got it in big, bold letters. Check it out, educate yourself, and make a wise decision. I am not an attorney. I do not work for Google. I'm not going to sit here and try, like I said, to debate about the privacy piece, but I am a user of the product. And I have been using many of the products, all of the products that I'm going to share with you, for several years. So they have helped me to be more effective and efficient, more productive, so that I can focus on profit-generating activities in my business. And now I'm going to share them with you. All right. I want to do a quick check-in before I get into the tool. So let me just take a pulse check here and see. Remember, I told you we have a Wendy Williams check-in area. How you doing? So if you can, let me know if you're fine, if I need to slow down, if I need to speed up. All you've got to do is click on the little drop-down arrow for feedback, and it will give you options that you can plug in. Let me do that little quick check-in and see how everybody's doing. You hanging in there with me? All right. Okay, it looks like everybody's doing fine, so that's wonderful. All right, we're going to keep going. Now we're going to get into the real meat of the thing here, and I'm excited about this because I'm such a nerd. I really am, and I love it. All right, let's get into the first tool. Now, I'm going to start with going from things that are somewhat familiar to you to things that may not be as familiar. And again, some of you on the call may have familiarity with all of these tools, but not quite to the maximum level that you should in order to be streamlining your businesses with them. So I'm going to start with Google search, which everybody knows what Google, when you say now, you don't say, hey, let me go to an encyclopedia and look this up. You don't say, let me go to the phone book. You say, hey, did you Google that? And when people are talking about that, they're typically talking about the Google search engine. So what is it? It's a search engine to help you find whatever it is you need to get things done fast. And the way that Google search helps you is by saving you time and money versus having someone else to research and from having to even leave your desktop or your space where you're doing the work. Now, I'm going to share with you some little-known search engine tips, and for each of the tools that I'll share, I will start with a slide that looks a little like this because I want to make sure you know what it is, what the item is, and how it's going to help you to earn that money, to get more sleep, and to save some time. So, most of you probably type in, an item that you want, and let's talk about food because we all can relate to enjoying food, I think. So let's say that you as a solopreneur, you are looking to locate a restaurant so that you can host a business meeting or meet with that client that you needed to meet with next week, okay? Now, if you put in the word restaurant, and see, this is typically the way that people tend to search is very generically. This is not a time saver, okay? I put in the word restaurant, and I literally get over 1 billion plus search engine results, right? Look at all those results. But what you can do when you're searching is tweak that further. So I'm going to give you a couple of ways to tweak your search so that you can find what you want quickly. Now, when I type in restaurant, Addison, Texas, okay, and I'm adding a geographic location, then it's going to give me fewer results. Now, again, many of you may be familiar with this particular process of adding that local aspect to your results, okay? So, see, it took it from over 1 billion to 491,000. That's okay, but that's still not fast enough. If you know that you need to meet with that client next week in Addison and you're trying to figure out where would be a good place for me to go, to meet this person. So here's another search option that you have. If I can get this thing to move forward, let's see. There we go. Try putting quotation marks around the phrase. Now, what happens here when you're in Google search and you're actually looking for that item, what happens is if you put your specific words that you're looking to find in quotes, see, it's narrowed it down from 491,000 to 85,600 because it's only going to look for those exact results that fit the phrase that you've put in between quotes. So we're talking about streamlining here. We're talking about getting faster with getting the information that we need. This applies not just to you finding that dining area or location. This applies to anything. If you're looking for a specific phrase, a specific set of words, put it into quotes and see if you can get a more narrowed down set of results. I've got something even better for you. What if you're looking for that same restaurant, but you want to be able to use a Groupon, okay? So then what you can do, and let me make sure that I'm giving you the more narrow version, but also the broader perspective of how you use this. What you're doing here is you're adding the word site, colon, and then putting the actual domain if you're looking for specific information that falls within a specific website. So if you're trying to find something in Groupon.com, notice how I've put here Restaurant Addison, because again, that goes back to our initial request. Then next to it, I put the word site, colon, Groupon.com. You see how I have say what? Because most people don't know, look how much that streamlined down the number of restaurants and those that fall within a specific geographic location that I can now find a Groupon for. It's narrowed it down to 112 results, okay? So, again, getting you to that place of being able to really target and hone in on the information that you need quickly. So, this was my quick hitter win, and some of you, again, may have been a little familiar with search, but not quite knowing how exactly you could use it. There are so many other shortcuts you can use when you're doing a search. And one of the tips, I don't have it on this page, so you'll have to be listening and you want to write this one down. One of the tips, a page that you can go to where there are lots and lots of great shortcuts, is googleguide.com. So that's www.googleguide.com. They have great, excellent shortcuts and ways that you can use your search function within Google to get information fast. All right, moving right along. I passed one. Let's go back. Let's talk about Google Reader. And I want to share some really interesting ways that I've used this because, again, it's a tool that you might be somewhat familiar with, but you may not be using it to get productive, to streamline what you do. Google Reader is a really simple syndication, or RSS, as many of you have heard or seen the word RSS but don't know what it is. It's a really simple syndication feed aggregator. And so what that means is when you see the symbol that I'll show you here shortly, it's usually like a little square orange box that stands for RSS feed. What you're able to do is to take that information and feed it through the Google Reader aggregator. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more of what this means in just a second, but basically the deal is it takes feeds from various places on the web, and it allows you to receive the most current, updated web content. So it might be blog posts from your favorite blog. It might be news headlines from a news station that you love, and other information that you might be looking for. I want to show you what this can look like, okay? Here's my Google Reader, and this is just one particular subscription that I have within Google Reader, okay? There are lots of different ways that I use this, and actually because I was preparing to teach this class, it helped me to get in there and do some cleaning and to organize. You can actually organize some of these feeds using folders, amongst other things, okay? Tags, any kind of way that you want to be able to find the information. But I want to share with you some specific ways that this feed will be helpful to you as a solopreneur, okay? So what I've done on the left is basically if there are different sites that I've found or different RSS feeds that I've seen throughout the web, I will simply click on them, and typically you'll have a page that pops up that allows you the option of adding to your Google Reader, and it may give you the option of adding to other readers as well, but I add always to my Google Reader because I just want one centralized place to go for this information. Now, how do I use it? This is going to be the kicker, and this is what you probably are not doing right now. The reason why I use Google Reader is because it allows me to collect information in one centralized place that I can now share on my social media, okay? So when I'm looking for, let's say, for example, that your topic, you are a coach who deals with health and wellness issues, okay? You're not always just sharing your stuff, at least not typically. You're also maybe sharing things that you may be reading, if it's an article that you thought was great, if it was a video, if it's a news report, on something that falls within your topic or your industry, okay? Instead of you having to surf the web to find content, now you go to your Google Reader where you centralize that information and you scan through and say, ooh, I really like this post. Let me share this with my group through Facebook. Ooh, I like this. Let me share this on Google+. Okay? So it gives you constant content that you're not having to sit there and create, but you're able to be a thought leader and a valuable resource for your market by sharing information that has come from other people that still falls within your topic of expertise. So if you've got favorite blogs, if you've got other RSS feeds that you think are really valuable to you and you want to share them, get them into Google Reader. I promise you this will save you tons of time. I know so many of us who will sit there and just browse the internet for hours looking for good content when all you have to do is have it come to you. You can even have your to-do list be managed using this. Your to-do list, for example, if you use Toodle-Do, which is a common tool that I've used in the past, Toodle-Do has an RSS feed. And so I've allowed that to actually be streamlined into my Google Reader. Once again, so that I can go to that one place and find everything that I need. If there are events, if you have a particular person that you enjoy following and they happen to, for example, list all of their classes and courses on Eventbrite, well, you can go and grab their RSS feed for Eventbrite and plug that in. So you get the picture. Again, it's all about streamlining information so that you're not constantly out there going and digging for it. It's coming to you. The other thing I like, this final point I'll leave you with on Google Reader as a tool, is that you can sync it with your phone if you have a smartphone or your tablet. So iPad, Android tablets, any of that. Sync a Google Reader app so that you can have your information from Google Reader everywhere you go. How awesome is that? So sometimes when I know that I will not be physically at my laptop, but I still want to be able to share a great article or a great piece of content, I can do that right from my phone. Again, simply using Google Reader. I think I'm going to pause real quick here and see if I do have, again, a simple pulse check and see if there are any questions that are coming through. All right. Only change your feedback drop down if there is a problem. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on moving. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So let's get back into the presentation. So Google Reader. The next thing we're going to get familiar with is Google Calendar, which has been a life-saving tool for me. And I think that it will be for you as well, depending on how you choose to use it. Now, Google Calendar, also known as GCal, is a calendar that will help you to track what you do, where you do it, and any other details that you want. So if you, for example, have a recurring event and you want to track it in there, you can do that within Google Calendar. The biggest way that this helps you to get more sleep, earn more money, save time, is by eliminating paper, if you're still using those paper planners, okay, and you have to dig and try to find, oh, where did I have that appointment? When was it again that I was supposed to do such and such? Now you can actually do a search and filter out what you're looking for in your calendar. You can also share information, which, by the way, has helped my husband and I to stay married. I'll explain what I mean right now. So, one of the things that is really kind of interesting, I mentioned this earlier, with all of the different roles that I play, and you probably have the same situation, or maybe a little bit of a different situation, but I bet you wear a lot of hats, okay, in your household. One of the things that I would often get frustrated about is having to remind the rest of the family about, oh, there's a soccer game, oh, there's a this, hey, didn't you remember I'm going out of town? And so when Google Calendar came through, what was very exciting to me is the ability to be able to now share my calendar. So I created a family calendar. I created a calendar that is just for the kids' events, and that way I could share that calendar with my husband so he'd never again have to forget or be able to use the excuse that he forgot that there's an event coming up, right? And the really neat thing about this is that you can color code. You can color code each calendar. So what you may look at doing, for example, would be color coding your, let's say you decide I'm only going to have all of my coaching appointments be in green, okay? I'm only going to have my kids' events be in orange. I've even created for myself an editorial calendar right here within Google Calendar. And so that for me is pink, okay? And that reminds me when I know that I have written content that I need to put together or something else that I need to do to deliver as a marketing tool. Okay, but ultimately the goal is that you have the option of creating as many calendars as you want. I don't know if there is a specific numeric limit to the number of calendars, but I've created a lot of calendars. So even for my speaking opportunities, there's red for those. That way, at a glance, you have an option of being able to see exactly what's going on in your week or in your day or in your month, however you want to view this. Now, one of the things that I think is very awesome here with the Google Calendar is that you're able to sync it to a number of different types of products. So it integrates with other applications. So as you see here, sync everywhere, I really do. I sync it to my smartphone. I sync it to my tablet so that I only have to make an entry once, and then I can see full view, color code and everything, everywhere else I might have the Google Calendar app. Now, you do have an opportunity to schedule appointments using Google Calendar itself. Personally, I don't choose to use their app for that because, well, there are a couple of different reasons, which I'll share with you in a couple of seconds around Gmail. But the main thing is there are many other third-party scheduling tools that you can use that connect directly to your calendar. So to give you a quick example without going too far into scheduling tools, which I'll do in another class, if you use a scheduling tool like I do, and you make that appointment with that next prospect or a client that you have, and it confirms within that third-party tool, it automatically loads into your Google Calendar, and you never have to go and enter anything twice. Once again, streamlining what you do. This is the goal. Streamline. So I don't ever want to have to, and this is my personal philosophy, you've got to decide if it's something you want to adopt, but I don't want to have to enter anything more than once if I can help it. So if I'm entering that calendar appointment in one place, I want it to show up everywhere else that I might be able to view that calendar. Saving time so that I can spend my real time on those profit-generating activities for my business. All right. Let's get into Gmail, which is another biggie. So now we're at the fourth Google tool. Gmail is an email platform that allows you to send and receive messages, It can help you by allowing you a wonderful platform for collaborating, for sharing, for saving yourself money and time, and staying connected. I mean, really, any email platform you're going to use. I know a lot of people think of email as just the devil, but the thing is, your inbox is precious. It's a commodity. It's a way for you to stay connected with people, okay, which is why I don't know if it will ever go away. The key is to be able to manage your email in such a way that you're not constantly spending, hours upon hours of time looking over your shoulder trying to see if there's a next email in there. So I want to give you a couple of tips on using Gmail effectively that I think you'll like. All right, so this is an email or my Gmail box, okay? This is just one particular section of Gmail that I'm showing you a screenshot of. Now, what's interesting about Gmail when you go in here is you'll notice that there are going to be various boxes on your left when you open your account. You'll see boxes on your left, and really you have an opportunity to create more boxes than what you'll initially see. So what you see now, for me, are different folders that I've set up or that another piece of software, because I use different third-party apps to integrate with Google or with Gmail to help it run even more effectively. I won't have time to share with you those third-party apps tonight. I will, however, give you some tips on how you can get more information from me about how to use them effectively. But you have an option of being able to create manually different folders on your left. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show you here. It can look like it's a big, giant group of emails, right? The goal ultimately is for you to be able to filter them in such a way that you get what's important in your inbox, only what's important in your inbox. And so one of the ideas behind Gmail that I really love is that you have the opportunity to actually see your email however you want to see it. So you can either see it all at one time, like every piece of mail that you have, which I highly discourage you to do, or you can decide, okay, I want to see just the things that I think are important first. Now, Gmail itself actually creates different filters as to what's important based on your activity, based on how much time you actually spend conversing with certain contacts, based on certain information that might show up in the subject line. There are all kinds of different things that it will do, and it's called an algorithm that it looks for. You can change what you think is important, but initially Google is going to find what it thinks is important based on the way that you're interacting with your email box. What you do basically is tell it, no, that's not important. Yes, this one is important. And the more you do that, the more frequently you do that, the more it will learn your pattern. Pretty awesome, huh? Yes. Okay, to give you a quick hitter trick that I use here, notice that there's an option for starred first. One of the ways that I use starred first is by, if I'm on the phone, if I'm on my smartphone and I happen to be looking at my Gmail and I'm scanning through seeing what I need to respond to, that's a quick hitter way for me to figure out, oh, these are things I need to take an action on. So I'll just start on my phone so that when I get home, all I have to do is click on starred first, and it pulls up the list of starred items that I have for the day that I know I want to respond to today. Those are my hot ticket items, okay? So that's one way that you can use starred. Priority inbox is another way that you can set things up. Priority inbox does something very similar to what I just mentioned in that it uses a Google algorithm to find what it thinks would be priority to you, and you teach it, you train it by going in and changing that as you have emails come in, at least initially, and after a while it will work like on autopilot for you. But priority inbox and important first are different in that your priority inbox will always show unread important messages at the top, whereas your important first may show items that you consider important, and some of them may have been read already and others may not, and then it'll file anything else that's in your inbox at the bottom of the screen. So you see I have two different sections there. You can kind of see that, okay? All right, let me show you something else in here that's really neat. When you go into Gmail, one of the places that a lot of people don't even know is the settings area. And this truly is going to be where you find your magic in using Gmail, because this is where you're able to do something that is very critical. I'm going to say this in just a second. I'll share with you what I'm talking about. But here's how you get there. On the far right, you're going to see a little wheel, okay? You see that little gear or wheel on the far right, right underneath my picture. When you click the drop-down arrow, that's where you'll see settings, okay? So settings is going to be the home of a lot of the changes I'm getting ready to show you that you can make. When you go into settings, this is something that many people do not do well, and I'm going to teach you because I want you to really get a handle on this. Ultimately, if you're trying to be more productive, you don't need to have 100 different inboxes that you are going to check your mail. You just don't, okay? That's a big time waster. So what I would highly recommend you do is to consider taking all the different emails from all of your different websites, okay, and import them into one Gmail box. This is a big golden nugget, guys, okay? This will help you tremendously because I know far too many entrepreneurs who are going to multiple boxes because, hey, I've got a business over here. I've got this website over here. Oh, wait a minute, this is my personal email. That's all fine, but it is a waste of time that you are having to go to so many different places to check your inbox. Why not have it all filtered in the same way? Why not? So what I've done, you'll notice here, and I'm being transparent, I've got a lot of different emails that I like to check, even if I have my virtual assistant assigned to be able to check some of these boxes. I still need to know what's going on in my business. So I want the opportunity to be able to scan, if I feel like it, to see, have there been some different emails coming in that I need to view? Okay? Don't leave the future and destiny of your business to anyone else. Certainly you can delegate and outsource. Absolutely you should assign. Remember we talked about the 3 decisions: act, assign, automate. But you still should you should never just completely turn over your ability to be able to know what's happening in your business, whether it's your money or your communications, because your contacts are like gold, okay? So notice that you can send mail as any one of those domains, like I have here, Be Promotable, Tanya Smith Online, Systems Liberation, but I can also check mail coming through. And it's all filtered using the priority inbox and some of the other filtering features that I showed you earlier. All right. Okay, that's a biggie. Here's another thing. You can actually filter. I've said this. I've thrown that word around, but let me explain what filtering means. If you have certain emails that are coming in, you don't want to read all of them. I'm sure you don't. I bet you have some people, let's be honest, that you've said, sure, I'll be on your email mailing list, and you never read an email from them, but you don't want to unsubscribe, okay? What you can do is create a filter and basically have that email, any emails that come from a particular location or box or person, you can have them filtered into a specific folder that you choose, okay? And you can have it even skip the inbox altogether and always go to delete, okay? You can have it always go into your archived folders. By the way, archiving mail is different from deleting mail in Gmail. Archiving, and this works similarly with Outlook. If you archive, that means you're creating a record that you can go back and collect if you need to, okay? So I would encourage you to archive emails that you feel are priority. If at some point it was priority and you want to have a track record, you want to be able to go and find that, do a search and find it at some point in the future, even if it's a couple years down the road, archive it. If it's something that you really know you'll never ever care about viewing again, it's not worth your time to keep it, delete it. Okay, so on a pretty consistent basis, I will archive certain things and I'll delete certain things. But this filtering allows that to happen for you. You can automate the process of archiving or moving to a different folder or even deleting if you choose to. Okay. In a couple of minutes here, I'm going to open up for questions, but I'm going to get through at least the next few screens. Okay, so here's where you're doing the filter, okay? You don't have to go into settings, but you could go to settings, as I showed you in the last screen, or you can go directly into the email. So let's say, for example, you receive an email from that person, or let's say it's a person who you really want to always receive their emails. Let's spin it positively, okay? I always want to get this person's emails. I always want them to be considered important, and I want to give it its special attention. Well, what you do when you open that person's email up is you click on the right-hand side. See where that little drop-down arrow is, right underneath the printer, the picture of the print or the icon of the printer, and it will show you a little mini menu like this. And you can click on Filter Messages like this. And what it's going to do then is it will open up various options. So it'll say, oh, messages like this, ones that come from this particular email address that have these words, you can add and maneuver around in this particular filter creation box and tell it, these are the things that I want to see when you save it to this special folder. You only have to do this once, and when you do it one time, it then creates a filter so that it automatically treats every email that meets those criteria in the same fashion. Do you see how this can be time-saving? Do you see how much productivity you can gain back in your life if you just do things once? If you make that your practice, do it once and be done. That's one of my 10 principles to systems liberation. Do it one time and be done. All right. So I'm going to do a real quick pulse check here and see if there are any questions coming through. All right. Okay. And I'm also going to check and see if there's any feedback on my Wendy Williams meter. Okay. All right. I think we're doing okay. I have one more item I'm going to share with you really quickly here, and then I'm going to open it up for questions on the chat, and I may even open up the phone line. All right. Let's see. Let's get into Google Labs. Now, this is inside of, I'm going to give you some Google apps that fall inside of Gmail that are very handy. There are 3 favorites that I use. Google Labs you can actually get to by going to settings. So just like I mentioned earlier, if you go into settings by using that little wheel that was at the upper right corner of your screen, if you get to settings, Labs will be one of the tabs. So what is it? Google Labs is an experimental area. So there are little miniature applications or apps within Google that you can use that will help you to enhance the way you use Google tools. So you'll find that there are labs available inside Gmail as well as in Google Calendar. And again, this is about helping you get you shortcuts that save you time, and they eliminate redundancy. Going back to do it once and be done, I'm going to show you how you can do that with one of my favorite Google Labs ever. Now, here's a picture of what the Google Labs tab looks like. And what I highlighted here is there's an area that says Gmail Labs is a testing ground. So this is their disclaimer that it's experimental in nature, meaning that these are different applications that have not yet been promoted as, 100% ready to go. I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I use that I've never had a problem with. And part of the reason I think they put this disclaimer here is because some of these apps are actually created by people outside of Google. Okay, so they are developers who have come up with different apps that they felt would enhance the use of the Google tools. And Google doesn't want to stand behind that. That's not, their role, because they didn't hire, maybe, that developer that created the item. So that's, I think, why the disclaimer's there. But I've never had an app that has created problems for me with my mail or made me lose a bunch of things, a bunch of information. I've never had that happen at all. Okay? So I'm going to give you 3 that I would recommend because I use them. One is called Canned Response. Now, here's what I want to tell you about Canned Response. It's probably one of the best free tools that I use. Okay? It's one of the most popular ones I use in my arsenal. Inside Gmail, you have the ability to be able to turn on this thing called Canned Response. And when you turn it on, the thing about it is Canned Response allows you to create email templates. So let's say, for example, that you have a common response that you always send to new people that you've just introduced yourself to as a consultant, as a coach, somebody that you met at networking, okay? And you have a pretty similar response that you typically, or similar email that you send to them to say, hey, I just wanted to follow up and tell you it was great meeting you. And then maybe you have a couple of things that are streamlined or personalized based on your meeting with that person, and then the rest of it is still really structured, okay? If that's the case, using Canned Response will allow you to create that basic template that you can turn on. So every time you go into Gmail and you know you're getting ready to send a follow-up to those people that you met at yesterday's networking event, you can go in and go into your template that you created in Canned Response, and you can now just edit the template to personalize it a little bit and send it instead of having to recreate a new email from scratch every time. Every time. Once again, do it once. Do it once and be done. Canned Response is awesome. I don't have a screenshot of it, but what happens when you turn it on in Google Labs is you'll see a new feature. When you create a new email, you'll see a new feature called Canned Response in your little toolbar area. So it's very intuitive and easy to use. I encourage you to look at that. Another thing that I like to use is Google Docs previews. This is just if you get an email in your Gmail and someone wants to or has sent you an attachment that was created in a Google Docs application, you can see a preview of it without ever leaving the email. And then finally, I like having smart labels on. Smart labels automatically will categorize your mail into bulk email that's just going to a bunch of different people, notifications, and even forum messages. If you turn this on, what it does is, again, it uses the algorithm I mentioned earlier so that it can automate the way that your mail is filtered so that you don't spend time trying to figure out, what should just be bulk mail. That's not priority. If it's bulk and it's going to everybody and it's not something you specifically are looking for, it should not be in your inbox. It should be in a place where you can go and look when you have time, like bulk, okay? So those are the 3 labs that I love, and those would be the ones I would encourage you to check out initially. These are the 5 Google tools we've talked about: Google Search, Reader, Gmail, GCal, and Google Labs. And those would be the 5 that I would highly recommend you to get familiar with. I want to tell you quickly how you can get more information. I love teaching, and tonight I've really just showed you what, but if I can show you the how, you're going to be dangerous in your business. I want to walk you through step by step a few different ways that you can get more things done in your business. And so I have recently opened up a new program. It's a 5-week course. Initially it was going to be 6 months, and I realized if I'm preaching to you about saving time, 6 months is not saving you time. So it is now a 5-week course where I will spend some intensive time each week on a coaching call, sharing with you specific ways that you can put certain tools in place to run a stress-free and worry-free business. It starts March 12th. It is currently on sale at $50 off if you register between now and March 2nd. I'm not even doing anything. I've already set that up in the system, so the minute the system, my shopping cart goes off and says, the $50 is not off anymore, I'm not going to do anything to change that. So I highly encourage you to run, not walk, because I will have only a limited number of seats with this trial. And I'm only going to do this 5-week course at this rate this time. You can find more information. I won't spend the rest of our time harping on it, but you can find it at systemsliberation.com. The 5 weeks are going to be focused on these 5 key areas. So week 1, we're going to talk about personal productivity strategies. I'm going to give you some real solid stuff that you can use and carry with you way beyond this course. Week 2 is conscious calendaring. So we're going to talk about ways to set boundaries with your clients, with your family members, with your friends, and how to exactly put that Google Calendar in place that will help you to be more effective. And this is also about scheduling your appointments with new clients and all kinds of things. Week 3 is effective email management. We'll dig more into a little bit of what I talked about, or a lot of what I talked about briefly tonight. Creative client relations, how you enroll new clients into your process. What is the system you use? All of these are going to have templates that you can use. You can just plug your own information in and play. So I promise you this will be an investment well spent. If you go to systemsliberation.com, you can find more there. What I'd like to do now is to simply open up for questions. I'll say this really quickly. If you find that it's great to do these group calls, but you really need more personal help, you can always find me at TanyaSmithOnline.com. You can see everything I have going on. You can get lots of free resources and tools. If you go to the Contact Us tab, you'll be able to schedule a 15-minute call with me, and we can talk through whatever issues or challenges you might be facing and see the best way to tackle those. Okay? So I want to go ahead and make sure that I do offer an opportunity for questions right now. I'm looking at the questions and answers area. Let me make sure that I have that on. And let's see. If you have a question and you're online, feel free to go ahead and type in your question, and I will look for it so that I can answer it. The other thing I'm going to do right now is let you know if you're on mute, which everybody is actually on mute right now. To unmute yourself, you can press *6 if you have a question. So please feel free to do so at this time. All right, I'm not hearing any unmutes right now. So again, to unmute your line, simply press *6. And what I think I will do is make sure that I haven't taken away your ability to do that. The other thing I'll remind you of is that there is a Q&A area at the bottom, or you can use text chat and send me a quick question if you have one about anything we've talked about tonight. Okay. All right, let me do a quick pulse check while you might be thinking of a question. And the pulse check you can actually use again by simply clicking on the feedback drop down and let me know if you do have anything going on that I need to know about. If you really enjoyed tonight's call, if you got something out of it tonight, why don't you do this? Let me know, yes, I agree, if you do. If you think that this was worth your time, because I really would love to know that. The other way that you'll be able to provide feedback, again, is immediately after the call, you should be receiving a link or you should be redirected right to our survey screen so that you can fill it out for me very quickly. All right, yeah, I see some thumbs up. Awesome. Good, good, good. Okay, I think I do see a question right there. I see a question mark. Okay. So I don't see the question on screen, though, for some reason. So here's what I'm going to do. For the person who has a question, if you do have a question, please be sure to go ahead, if you're on the phone, and *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, Tanya. Shamika, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing? It's good to hear you.
Wow. Likewise. I kind of came on board late, so you may have gone over this type of question. Now, you know everyone with the Androids and the iPhones. Specific tools, have you noticed they're easily able to be accessed via those gadgets? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're using an Android, if you're using anything on the iPhone, the iPad, any of those, typically there are going to be apps that you can download. They're not always free, but usually they're still very affordable. For example, in my iPad right now, I use a tool, I think it's called GWiz. And GWiz actually pulls in all of my Google stuff. So it pulls in my Gmail, it pulls in my calendar, it even pulls in my Google Plus and Google Reader. It's got everything. So all of the things that I talked about tonight are right in one place on an app. Same thing with the phones, with the smartphones especially. If you have a smartphone, you can do so many things with those now. Go to your marketplace if you're an Android user and type in Google, or type in Gmail if there's a specific app that you want to use from tonight. You'll be able to actually download it pretty fast and just start using it. Now, the one thing I would say, though, Shamika, about using some of the smaller screens is that it can get a little tricky depending on how they have the app set up. But and what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, that you want to make sure that you're entering in an appointment that you have and you're out and about and you're trying to do it on your phone. It might be teeny tiny, okay? But if you do enter it there, it's going to show up everywhere else. One of the things I tend to do is to enter all of my new appointments using my laptop or my tablet, and then I just have them show up for viewing on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, any of these Google tools are going to have apps that you can use for Google in Android or iPad. Now, the only other ones I would say I'm not sure about would be some of the non-name brand, the more generic versions of tablets. I'm not sure about their app availability. That's the only thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
It's so good to hear from you. We'll have to connect.
Yes.
All right. I see. Let me make sure I can allow sharing here. I see still there's another question showing up there.
Tanya?
Yes.
Hey, it's Sylvia Browder. How you doing?
Hi, lady. How are you?
I'm good. I did have a question. I put it in the text chat, but I don't know if you see it or not.
Yeah, it's just not showing up for me. I'm sorry. So you might be my person that I saw that there was a question, but I couldn't see the actual question. I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. The question was, I do have a Gmail account, but I
Okay.
don't use it much. I
Mhm.
use Outlook for my multiple email and website email addresses.
Mhm.
And I guess my question is, each of them have their own signature line. Would I be able to have a signature line using the Gmail?
Absolutely. You sure would. And the way that you do this in Gmail is to go to settings again. So that little gear shift over there, go to settings, and on the general tab, so the main tab that opens up when you first go in there, when you scroll down to probably close to the bottom of the page, there's going to be an area that says signature. So for every one of the emails that you've put in, so for example, you saw how I had like multiple domains, so I might have like 7 different emails that I can show and send from.
Mm-hmm.
For each of those, you can have a distinct signature.
Okay, good.
Yes. And one of the tools that I use, here's a little bonus, one of the tools that I use to create my signature, and if any of you are on my email and have received personal email from me, you probably have seen this. My signature actually includes like my latest tweet. It has my LinkedIn, my Google+, all of the different icons to various social media vehicles that I use. I use Wise Stamp. Wise Stamp. Wise Stamp works with Gmail very well.
Okay.
So Wise Stamp is all one word, squished together, WISE stamp.com.
Okay.
And you can load that in through Gmail, and it gives you even a more personal touch when it comes to your signatures.
Right. And the other quick question I had, you had mentioned you had multiple calendars.
Mhm.
Was that the color codes that I saw on the screen? Were those different calendars or?
Yes, they sure were, and I'm sorry I didn't make that plain. Yes, absolutely. So when I look at my calendars, and let me see if I can get back to that slide real quick, and I'll show you. When I create a new calendar, each of those calendars will be a different color.
Okay.
Each one of them. So yes, you absolutely can, and I like that personally because I'm a very visual person.
Right.
And I want to be able to look in there and see, here's one way that I look at this. If I have, for example, my coaching appointments all set up in green, okay, to represent income, I want to be able to, at a glance, look at my calendar for the month, and if I see there's just very little green on there, that means I got some work to do. Right. So color coding to me allows you to visually be able to see, do I have way too much activity going on in this area and not enough in this other area? You can break it down however you choose because there's so many different options. But I separate my color codes by function. So by what exact task is it that I'm focused on, but also by individual people. So like I said, my kids have a calendar so that I can at a glance see in orange, you know what, I got this going on this week, so I better not plan such and such. Other biggie for me is, like I said, sharing with my husband. So I give him access to certain calendars. I won't make him suffer by having access to all of my calendars because he won't want to see all of that on his. But he has Google Calendar, too, on his cell phone. So if he opens it up and sees the kids' calendar that I've shared with him, he can immediately see what they've got going on. He doesn't have to lift a finger so that we don't have to argue about it. He just knows, this is happening. I probably need to say, let me try to help.
And, Tanya, is that a function within Google to share the calendar, or is it an app?
Yes, that's perfect. Yes, it is a function that's already part of Google Calendar. Yes.
I love that. Okay.
I know. And see, we use these. A lot of us use this stuff, but we don't know all of the different functions that you can do with this stuff. So Google Calendar really has been amazing. If you go into Google Calendar and on the left-hand side, I probably should do a quick screen share. I think we might be running out of time. We are out of time. I'm about 5 minutes over, so for those of you who need to leave, I certainly don't want you to miss out if there's something you need here, but just know that we're about 5 minutes over time. I'm going to quickly do a screen share if I can, so I can show you where to go in Google Calendar, and then we'll get ready to wrap up. So in Google Calendar, let's see if it'll work here. I may not be able to get it to show up. Okay, so here's what I'm going to share with you. In Google Calendar, when you go to the calendars, which will be on your left, there's a little drop-down arrow next to each calendar. When you click on the drop-down, you'll see options to be able to go into the settings for calendar. That's where you can share. And you can even create a public feed. So if you wanted to, for example, share with a whole group of people or with just any and everybody what your event calendar looks like, you can create an event calendar for where you're going to be publicly speaking and make it public so that anyone going to that link will be able to see where you're going. So that's pretty awesome, too.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tanya.
You are so very welcome. It's so good to hear you, too.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time tonight. And, again, it's all about making the most of your time, doing things once and being done, being more productive so that you can spend your valuable, precious minutes on things that will help you to generate profit in your business and that will allow you to really put focus on what matters most to you. That's what it's all about. That's all that I talk about. And if anything that I've shared with you tonight will help you, I hope that you will share it in your comments on the survey. And if you have come in late and you need to see the replay or hear the replay, the link will be made available to you probably within the next few hours, not just 24 hours, but within the next couple of hours. I should have it up and running, and it will come automatically to your inbox, to the email for which you registered. So again, I hope you have a fabulous evening, and if there's any way I can assist you in being more productive and simplifying, saving time, and standing out, feel free to contact us. Take care and have a good night.
Good night.